Hello, welcome to Actual Play, Scum and Villainy, Persephone. We're coming back from the crew getting off of planet Onos Mega, aka Planet Omega, to now that we have found the secret of decrystallizing time, at least a little bit, and also pledged ourselves to find other bits of crystallized time and bring it back here. Should be awesome. I'm Sean
Must be
Nittner.
Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly. I'm Sean Nittner. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm going to be playing Whisper. I'm going to be flying us off this rock and back to some downtimes that I'm looking forward to because I got a lot of stress. And I could use a chat with my daughter. So, how about you, Lauren?
Hi, yes, I'm Lauren. I use she, they. I'm playing Dippa today, who uses they, them. And Dippa, I think, after last session, came away with 2 cores and traumatized and is now haunted. And I think the haunting is going to come from those 2 cores. I'm very excited to see what creepy ancient ghost robots pop up in the game for me. How about you, Steven?
Steven.
There we go.
There you go.
I had to find that mute button. Hey, everybody, I'm Steven. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm playing Scion, a mystic who, really made out pretty well through all of this. I've got a little bit of stress that I need to defray, but, Dipper's feeling better, and Scion is feeling better, and, I think Scion's ready to, breathe a little bit and, help lift everybody up.
Oh, that's so not happening. It's the
I love that my DM is immediately just shaking his head. No. We will see what Horax, Scion's teacher, has to say about all of these events, I'm sure. Jen, how about you?
Hello, I'm Jen Martin. I use she, her pronouns. I will be playing Ula Dyson, the mechanic. So this was the first mission with Ula back, and I look forward to some very big questions that Ula's got maybe to finally get to after this mess, during the downtimes. Josh, what about you?
Hey, I'm Strash. I'm one of the regular streamers here. I also wrote Scum and Villainy. I use he, him pronouns, and we have a lot of cleanup to do. So I guess we can get to it. I think our last couple of episodes dealt largely with the planet Omega, which, as the hegemony has put up buoys, is like, hey, please don't go here. No, seriously, don't go here. Okay, we're serious. Don't go here. Okay, turn around now. We really mean it. They managed to go to the planet. They went into an ancient precursor temple. Dipper had a very dramatic second core added to them and picked up a haunted trauma, which is going to be delightful. And I believe we last left off with all of you being picked up by an agony, and I mean that in the faction sense, ship, which whisked you away and was taking you up to the to their home base, which actually orbits this planet. We've let's just jump right into it. This is gonna get exciting. One of the things that I told everyone on stream, as I said, things might get a little dicey, and by that I mean we might have to roll some dice. So I think all of you fine folks are on the ship, and it gets brought up to the space station, and everyone's doing that tension into slightly more relaxed pose, because now you're away from the immediate danger and the threat of the surface, which was horrific and filled with terrifying xenomorphs and precursor temples that did not have a whole lot of love. I think there's probably just a couple of minutes of you folks walking through some hallways, trying to figure out how to get back to your ship and things like that, which is when I guess it's a very familiar scene for those people that watched 2 sessions ago. There was a chat on what equivocates to a bridge for this space station for you folks had talked to Saul, and sure enough, before you get cleared to GTFO, there's a tiny bit of poking and prodding. So if anyone wants to interject, please let me know. But they look you over because one of the rules is you don't let anything off the planet unless you have to, right? So like you're being effectively like quarantined and then released, and it's not terribly invasive, right? Like they have some creepy stranger with many voices and a cloak just peer at you, and it's a little discomforting, but it's not like physically unpleasant. um and yeah, so like, you're gonna get the thumbs up in like half an hour or something. Like it's not anything too scary. But before you go, you get taken before Alexal, and yeah, there's I think he looks at all of you and has that like half smirk where he basically says like, did you actually, what he says is, I can tell that you found what you were looking for. And then I think there's a brief moment where he doesn't understand necessarily maybe the stakes of what he's about to say, but he points at Dipper and says, uh, he says, it looks like you came off the planet with something that perhaps you should not have, though. What do you folks do?
I think Dipper looks immediately to our. I think either Ula, who has wherewithal and knowledge of tech, and Whisper, who is our orator, to be like, what do I say?
Oh, I mean, Ula says, we came off planet with exactly what we needed to come off planet with. And I think Ula actually will get in between Dipper and Lexal in a terrible move for her, right?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. I think we have sort of I think we have information that Lexal could use, and he's really curious about the planet. He's at last time we talked to him, he had this kind of reverence for it, and I don't know if he knows about the two-hearted king. Yeah.
The indications in that temple were that nobody had ever, or nobody in the last like, who knows how long, like 30,000 years, had gotten quite that far in. So
yeah. So I'm gonna kind of tease that like we can help you out. I can share information, and I say no, the person we talked to down there made it very clear that this was Dipper's to take now. And he knows that there's all sorts of monsters and things like that down there, but he might not know that there's like a person. And and I like, I tell him like, we don't have maps, but I can tell you about what we found, and what we've learned.
Cool. So two things. One, Dipper, you realize that there is an Urbot. I guess it's really hard to gender Urbots, but like in your head, you just think that it might be a lady for whatever reason, and for whatever value that means. But she's standing next to you. There's clearly, by the way, for everyone else, the camera that's actually showing this shot, there's clearly not a 8-foot Urbot next to Dipper. But Dipper, there is this Urbot woman with a robe on, which is very unusual because Urbots don't usually wear clothing. But I think what she says is so to everyone else that this clearly isn't happening, but I think what she says is, I think you need to silence that organic. And but yeah, Sean's like, oh yeah, we should totally give you maps to the ancient precursor temple and show you where the like two-hearted king was. That's no problem. You should go to the Tree of Time. That sounds dope. And Lexal is looking at Sean and thinking, and then looking at like sort of looks through Ula right at Dipper, and then you can, okay, so for those of you that may have picked up on this, that the Agony considers a lot of the pieces of the planet like holy, right? Like this is Sean's like, maybe we can trade information. And he's like, you're about to take a relic of my people away from here, and I don't think that's gonna happen. So like that's currently what's going on in Lixal's heart. So yeah.
I think
I don't know. Maybe we need to roll some dice or something. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think like if the sort of very ancient looking robot lady is next to me is saying, I don't think that's a good idea. I think
oh no, what she's saying is like kill that human. Like now.
Oh now I see.
Yeah, before he spills beans about what's down there.
Yeah. She's and she doesn't seem to actually like maybe even register that Whisper is a person with hopes and dreams and a future. It's just like whatever blip in the system it is, it's like it's for the best. Just take it out, it'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You can make it painless if you care.
In that case, I think Dippa tries to block. I think Dippa could not comprehend trying to do harm to Whisper.
Do you talk to this 8-foot woman that's
for
standing
what
next
it's
to you?
worth,
I'm just
like,
asking.
I think you all know that like Whisper has no particular love for Lexal, nor really wants to support the Agony. I think he might have given you like a look of like, don't worry about it. Like, I'm not going to blow your cover, but I don't know that the 8-foot Urbot in your head / beside you is going to pick that up. But like, Whisper isn't going to be like, so here's the roadmap to how to get to the thing. But
Strush knows that, but so far Dipper has had no interaction with any of the second core ghosts. So you know, you can look at this 8-foot woman who's standing right next to you, and she looks solid and real, like she's there. So
I see. Yeah, I think if I don't know, yeah, I think like if Dippa, if she looks like super real and is there, I think Dippa, like you see Dippa looking her up and down to take her into her presence, and yeah. I think probably would say something if she looked real, but no one else could see her. So I think
nobody else is reacting necessarily, but she's also speaking Urbot, which to most people seems to sound like blah. So you know,
yeah.
Which the rest of us just tune out. No.
Yeah, it's perfectly normal.
Yeah, it's just it's like wah 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 wah, right? So
I have a ploy.
Ooh.
My thought here is that Scion could like pull out 2 vials of the ferrofluid that we were crawling through.
Oh yeah, this is what flashbacks are for. Go on.
Yeah, and just be like, oh no, Lexal, like what you're detecting must be this. We thought that you might want this, so we brought it for you to study.
Unless you have something that absolutely like dampens that second Urbot heart.
Sure.
I don't know that that's going to fly. The best that you can try with that plan is maybe, hey, Lexal, how about we give you some of this and let our friend go, right? Like,
yeah,
like, look, we're not trying to be bad at you. We're just, yeah. Although Lexal is just like plans to a temple. Excellent.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, maybe you can try and sweeten the pot. Maybe you can try and convince him like, look, we will give you lots of stuff. Just you have to forgive this one thing, which is hard, right? Like he's basically a religious fanatic here. So.
Yeah, I think I'm willing to like step forwards and produce these 2 vials of ferrofluid. Is that?
I mean, I was gonna say like if I would have gotten the impression that Lexal would have been, you know, alerted if we brought a second core out with Dipper. I'm sure I would have done something about that. Like I don't know that I have the skills to fully hide it, but I wouldn't have just been like, let's just go walk in and see how it goes.
Cool. Yeah, okay. So what you're saying is like, hey, Lexal noticed the heart, but I think that I'm going to resist that and like try and distract him by like dampening it. All right. I mean, Ula does study Urbots and Dipper in particular, and is really into this kind of stuff. I'm afraid I'm gonna have to say something very mean.
Okay.
Which is that if you try to approach this with Rig, it may be 0 effect because he's not looking at it in a mechanical sense, right? Like it's not a little scanner that's telling him that there's a problem here.
Yeah,
so
it's an Urbot core. It's not a ship.
So tell me a story. Just how does what's Ula's idea? How does she dampen this? Because Strash knows that there are no mechanics in the book. There's nothing that says that you can't do this, so you absolutely can do this. But like, Strash knows that there are no mechanics in the book for like hiding things from a tune or whatever. And I'm curious to hear what your plan is here.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting.
My plan is twofold, right? And it capitalizes on the fact that when we were here last, Dipper's core was crystallizing.
Yes.
Right. And so what I want to have done in a flashback is sort of try to rig a situation where it could be conceivable that these two cores are actually like part of the same thing, and that now that the crystallization is gone, now these are just the after effects of the disease being cured or something.
Okay.
And
so you're trying to move like the hearts together, and what do you think will give off like what are you using, or what do you have available that might give off like a weird reading that like messes that up? Like what do you it's not the kind of thing that you would have on a tool belt. Like do
I have a Scion who sounds like he wants to help.
Oh yeah, okay. Scion, tell us the thing.
I have 2 shovels of coal for this fire because I love it. One is that I don't think that Urbots manifesting the way is a common thing.
Practically non-existent. Certainly the numbers of them that can do that can be counted on the fingers of one hand, but yeah.
Yeah, but we all know that Dipper can.
It's true.
And I think that we can present this information as the reason that Lexol is detecting strange way energy readings from Dipper's core is because, wonder of wonders, brother Lexol, Urbots can attune to the way. 2, like, if we've got this ferrofluid stuff, if we were like slogging through it, we could be like, look, they're an Urbot, they've got like cracks and crevices and crannies, and they're just like chock full of, but here's a set of vials of this stuff which you might want to check out. And it's probably confusing your readings because it's really weird arcane way stuff. So here.
Literally liquid hematite.
Okay. So what you're saying is we bought this at the gift shop for you. All right.
Yeah. I've got one more shovel of coal for this fire if you want to employ it. Horrocks, when she arrived here, did not seem to be detected by anybody.
She's still not being detected.
She seemed to be way shielded. So if we wanted to hide something from attunement, we do know someone who knows how to do that.
That's true.
And we could also, it doesn't feel like we should do all of these things, but I'm just sort of brainstorming, throwing this out there, that we could also flash back to asking Horrocks,
so
hey, could you help us hide this?
So I think what's going to happen is a technique in Blades, which is that sometimes I will say like, cool, so Lexol is going to murder you all and take anything that you brought off planet because it's part of his religion, unless you somehow plan for it. And what you folks are going to say is like, aha, but we did plan for it. Let's do this in flashback.
Yep.
And so like, yeah, I totally agree. You're a competent crew of scoundrels. These are questions that may have come to your heads. And it is absolutely something like Ula's like, yeah, I'm going to rig a solution and try and move the 2 cores together. Scion is like, yeah, let's put some liquid hematite in with this because exactly, right? So like to confuse the readings, and like Sean is like, I talked to Horrocks, maybe Horrocks can do something about this. And I feel like all of these are really good ideas. Let's all just make a couple of rolls, and we're gonna say like each of these rolls on their own might be like a limited effect, but if you make 2 or 3 rolls, we're gonna get like through a clock, basically. That is the Lexol's keen and discerning eye, and then we will just keep rolling.
Cool.
And then perhaps 83, you do not have to kill this foolish organic. Sorry.
No, I was thinking like we got these plans, and Dippus is like, oh, they're pretty sure there's a ghost here that I'm talking to.
Yeah, the 3 of us all have these like plans to do it, so that you could be trapped in this moment of like, I don't know what to do, and then like we can see how these things unfold, and maybe you don't have to murder this.
I love it. In my head, this code name like the Juliet Protocol or something, where like you suppress part of yourself to hide it, and we'll see what comes of it.
Amazing.
Nice.
Ula, it feels like maybe there's like either I'm assisting you or it's like a group rig where you and I are like, you're moving the cores together and I'm like applying the hematite, whatever.
Yes, it does sound like a group action. I, however, only have 3 stress left.
Oh, hey.
So if it's not all 4 of us, maybe.
So I think
I think it would just be the 2 of you.
yeah,
Okay.
I can flashback to like remember to have like dipped out a bucket of hematite for study, and then I can give 1 stress to you to assist you, and then you don't have to worry about stress at all.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's
Is
do
that a 1 stress flashback, Strash?
I mean, you don't need a
Have
bucket,
collected-
a couple of vials, and that's a
Yeah.
0 stress flashback, and I'm not,
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
not gonna be. You so stress in flashbacks is determined by how contrived and complex it is, and you
Yeah.
are wading through like armpit deep hematite, which
Yeah.
means that it's not that stressful.
Sure.
It's like, well, I talked to a person who then gave me a key to open this door. I'm like, all right, that's super contrived. Maybe that's 2 or 3 stress, but like, yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, then I'm just gonna assist you.
Okay. On a rig roll.
This would that's complicated. All right, if you say rig, I'm gonna say we're gonna start at 0 effect. It's doable. It's just very difficult. If you say attune, I will say we're gonna start at limited effect.
See, the problem is I have 1 in attune and 3 in rig.
It's true, but 6 inches of lead isn't going to distract this person.
That's fair.
Putting the 2 hearts together is definitely clever, actually. So like that's the only reason why I'm not like, yeah, that doesn't work. Like putting in a lead box isn't going to do anything. So
I was going to say, Stephen, do you want me to assist you in attuning to do this thing?
That could definitely work.
Because
so before the 2 of you
yeah.
make this roll, Dipper, how do you feel about people reaching into your insides and messing with the tune? I'm curious.
Well,
Are Ula and I just like talking to each other over Dipper, who's just sitting there like
I mean, if it's
Ula,
like, I'm used to Ula digging around inside me, and I think like Cyan and I have built up this bond over time, so I think there's trust there. So I think like Dip is I think Dip is okay if it's these 5 people.
Okay.
So I think Dipper is trying really hard to like suppress, like and any feelings of people rooting around inside. So Ula, I actually have to ask this: what does this look like when you're like, no, I'm not doing this by myself, Scion, I need you to do it, and I'm just gonna assist. Like, what does that moment look like? Because like that's very unusual, right? Like usually Ula's like, get the hell away from here, I got this, right?
Yeah. I think it is fairly easy for Ula in this specific instance because Dipper is her friend. And I recognize that doing this on rig alone isn't going to get the job done. And Scion is vastly better at me than Attune. And I want the qualified person to be working on my friend. So that's not to say that I'm not like cantankerous about it. But I don't think it's, I think I probably try to do it myself and realize that I can't, and then I'm like, Scion, I need your help.
Yeah.
All right.
I guess like Scion would like come over and like check with Dipper that like this is okay and that this is what they want. And then like I think I look at what you're doing, Ula, and I'm like, oh, that's very clever, bringing the cores together so that the radiance is a little bit more confusing. I think you're very close. I think in Scion's mind, it's like no one without any ability to attune to the way would ever have realized that was like a helpful or necessary thing in this circumstance. So like there's a little more realization from Scion's side of what Ula is capable of. So I think I say, you're close. Do you want me to take this?
Yes.
All right. And then I just like place like, one hand on each core and just like close my eyes. And I guess like, it's like breathing in the tension and breathing out like serenity, right?
I think Dipper follows you in that process, even though Dipper doesn't like breathe in oxygen, but is sort of like trying to mimic your sort of slowing down of one's center and like being.
Okay, so you're assisting me, right?
Yes,
Ula?
I am. Mhm.
So is this risky limited?
There was 1 second where Dippe goes, "Oh, I forgot that time that we summoned the way and void snakes came out of it and tried to eat us."
What?
Didn't that happen, right? Like we were on top of the ship.
Tension, serenity. Tension.
Breathe in, void snakes. Breathe out, pet meals. Breathe in.
Okay, I'm actually going to push myself to get up to standard effect.
Okay.
So risky, standard, +1 bonus die. Well, there you go.
I'm so mean. I'm so sorry, but I think the answer is good job. Limited effect.
Yeah. Well, that's fine.
Which is okay because you were half the plan. If you had gotten a 6 here on standard effect, I'd be like, cool, Sean, let's do some color in the background. But I think the effect will be full. So I believe you had a plan where Sean also had to talk to Horrocks, right?
Yeah, we're first going to talk to Horrocks. I'm just curious though, is the reason for the limited effect, is the reason why it doesn't quite work as well as it is because there's actually like sentience being involved here? Like I imagine this other core like has feelings about being messed with and whatnot. Like is it interfering? Is it making it more difficult?
Yeah, actually, so I love that take, and I'm sorry, Lauren, to keep so I wrote down a bunch of like personalities that are inside this core. So these ghosts have names. And I thought it could be fun. I mean, like we'll test it out. We'll play with it. It'll be fun. But no, if it's okay, I will introduce a different persona than the kind of matronly school teachery one that we've been seeing, which is
I love it.
I think that they're like working on you. So like the first time this happens, you're not even clear that it's happening or why it's happening, right? Because they're like effectively like disconnecting some stuff so that you're like anesthetized while they work or whatever. And you see this it's an Urbot, and it's got 6 limbs, which is actually very similar to the configuration with the 4 limbs that you have, like except that its like legs are about the same length as like each of its sets of arms, but it looks like it's viciously damaged and some parts of it are broken, and there are like laser burns and things that you could swear are arrows sticking out of it, and it's got several like stone swords that look like that double-bladed sword actually like driven twice like through each of its cores, and it sits there in the shadows and glares at you, and its eyes are red. And I don't know, has Dipper ever felt actual true emotion before?
I think like Dippe has approximated some internal like robot stuff as feelings, and like it's starting to take on that kind of language. But I don't think like, and I think like as they start to attune to the way, that's also kind of like expanding their mind a bit. But I think like true emotion isn't a thing that Dippe's like really felt before. But I think
Well,
this is a good time for Dippe to feel fear and like flinch back a little bit when like this thing sort of manifests.
It doesn't speak. It makes no sound because its vocal structure is destroyed in some ancient battle. But what it does is it looks at you, and much like Dipper has like the sparkly eyes with intellect, it has red eyes, very similar, but like red, because what it teaches you is to like subsume that fear and turn it into rage. And so yeah, it's this like weird shadowy figure that's like walking sideways and clinging to the walls. You can kind of barely see through this like half shut down process, right? And yeah, it's like a primal force of like anger and survival, and it only communicates with like the desire to like fight off the things that might be hurting you.
It's terrifying. It's so sweet. I think Ula can feel like the core temperature like heating up like quite physically if anger and rage is like being pumped through Dippe's body.
I imagine in my head, for whatever reason, they look like these little like glass pyramids with like weird fiber optic circuitry in them. And yeah, I think like you see like the red and the light like starting to expand, like you poke some sort of like defense mechanism or like, whatever. But yeah, I think it's limited effect because like the cores fight you, right? Like they don't, they're like, please grow dimmer, and they're just like, oh yeah. So
Should have breathed in heat.
Trying to
and breathed
suppress
out
me,
cool.
trying to hide me. Yeah, I dig it. All right. Meanwhile, Whisper is talking to Horrocks and says, I didn't want to bring it up before because it's your prerogative. However you want to interact with the agony. I know they're not your favorite people. They're not our favorite people either. But I did notice that no one here seemed to notice you when we came through last time.
I think Horrocks waits until so like obviously you're not doing this in plain view. You do this like
No, I think
while
this
your
is
host
like,
is distracted or whatever.
yeah, I mean, this is a flashback, so I imagine this is while
Yeah.
we're in while we're in the quarantine area or something like that, where we have a mode where we can talk quietly.
Yeah, okay. I think Horrocks looks at you, and like just it's obvious that like if you recall, she has this like little metal contraption, like just like a tube that she runs to her mouth, which she's using to breathe in non-oxygenated environments and things like that. But it seems like almost like she's hiding her breath, right? So like a lot of her communications are very nonverbal. So like she'll like quirk an eyebrow, like what do you mean by that, right? Like so.
Yeah. If she does that, I can continue, right?
Yeah, keep going.
All right. So I say, from my interaction with Lexol, I don't trust that anything we brought from the planet he won't want to take from us. And we brought something from the planet. We didn't tend to. We went down there thinking we were just going to get Dipper and Scion cured, but we brought something back.
So yeah, I think that when you're like, for my interactions with Lexol, and she like does like an eye roll. And,
yeah, right. Exactly.
I mean,
yeah,
like she does the go on kind of motion.
Exactly. And I'm like, so could you help Dipper hide this gift that they've been given, this new core? Do your abilities to mask yourself, can they extend to others? And if so, will you? Because I don't want to have to fight our way out of this place, and I think we might otherwise. And I would like to consort with her.
Yeah, you should roll that consort. That'll be great.
Yeah. What's the position effect?
Oh, it's totally risky, and it's not the risk now. It's the risk when you meet Lexol, obviously.
Yeah, makes sense.
Let's roll some dice. That'll be fine.
Risky, limited again as well.
Yeah. Although now the risk will manifest if you don't roll a 6, which is fine.
All right, did not roll a 6.
That's fine. That's fine. So now I get to foreshadow some distant badness, which is, I think she like takes the tube out of her mouth and looks at you and says, "I'm so very sorry. I don't have a lot of time, so I have to be the cryptic mystic right now." And she looks at you and she says, "How important is Dipper to you?"
Important enough that I'm not leaving here without them.
She looks very sad and says, "I was afraid of that." And then she says, "Remind Scion what I told him his duty was," and then just reinserts the tube.
What was my duty?
This was 2 episodes ago, which was like 4 weeks, so I don't blame you about this. I rewatched these things. I'm so sorry.
It's also very sad to be like, "Oh, what was that?"
Yeah, no. I will.
Remember your sacred oath. Wait, what? Oh.
It is. Yeah, I had an oath. Too much drinking. No. I think what she told you is that there will come a time when she can no longer shield the group, and then it will be your job to handle it. Right. But she said it right before she opened the door, so you were like, "In the temple, I will," and she was like, "No."
Yeah.
You never were very good at perceiving time, Scion. Worst students. So, yeah.
You mean like I gotta get like a shield and hold it up in front of them? Awesome.
I've been practicing. So I think this is where we roll up the time stream and we jump to the present, right? And we see the hematite come out, and we see like Lexal looks at Dipper and seems to be satisfied with the patch job that Ula did, and it seems to be like happy with the attune shielding that Scion was mucking around with, and seems to be appeased somewhat with the hematite, and stares at Dipper for like 1 second too long, and everyone's like, oh shit, should we be drawing weapons? And then says, very well. So I'm going to assume, Sean, with all the prep, that maybe you didn't offer him the plans for getting in the temple or whatever.
Absolutely, yeah.
I
think
go ahead.
Instead, anything that Whisper would doing instead would just be like talking with him about how to get off planet and trying to distract him. I'm preparing to do a resist if need be of like I'm going to force him to be paying attention to me. If there's a consequence coming from my role.
It's happening right now.
Cool, excellent.
I think you folks. I think he smiles and folds his extra joint on his fingers and looks at all of you and says, like, well then, I guess our business here is concluded and our slates are wiped clean. And just like gestures behind you because that's the way off the bridge, but it's also like ultimately the way towards your ship. Right. And then if folks are just like, oh, that seems okay, we should go now. He says, just one thing though. Of course, right? Because evil villainous person. What he says is, you did not tell me that I did not account for a member of your crew. And you can like, to the rest of you, obviously Horix is like, so yeah, it's one of those moments. So Sean, whatever you want to do right now.
Yeah, I think I'm like locking eyes with him, and I'm really calling back to the fact of our original encounter. And I say, no, we didn't declare all the members of our crew. Just like, and hold on, it's important. I need this. Who is the name of the person who gave us the job?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
It's important to say their name. I should have looked it
Noro.
up. Noro. Yeah. Cool. Thank you. I say, yes, a very good book. You should get it. I have it right out of reach. I say, you didn't know all the details of our job when we went on it. Just like we didn't know all the details of the job when we went to rescue you. Noro left some of those out, and we still went and did it on good faith. So like you said, our slates are clean now. And I would like to resist with resolve, saying like, yeah, big deal that like we snuck somebody on here. Like, we didn't know we were rescuing a Waymaster tentacle guy that was going to rip his way out of anything. So, yeah. Does that seem fair?
Yeah, it seems fair.
Cool.
That's what resist rolls are for. Good job at being a PC.
Thank you.
Hey!
Nice. So clear to stress.
Yeah, clear to stress.
I crit. This is what I do when I have to like get up in Lexal's space is I crit. Yeah.
I mean, it's a good time too.
Yeah, Lexal is definitely a good person to crit on if you can. And if you're wondering, the reason why I rolled 4 dice instead of 3 is because I have purpose, which gives me +1d on resolve resists. If anyone is looking at the character.
Sean, is it cool if I'm cinematic and creepy?
Yeah, do it.
Okay, there's no actual effect being played here. I'm just, it's, if we were watching a TV show, so like we as players know that you roll to resist and it is successful and everything is fine. But if we were watching the TV show, I think there's a moment where like Lexal has to play like one last card because of course Lexal has to play a fucking card.
Because bad guys always do, yeah.
Bad guys always do, right? So like I think he just I think he pauses when you think you've won, and he just like leans in just a little bit closer and he says, the planet's reach is long, and if you take anything from it, just be aware it will haunt you. It will change you. It will test you. And then he just like pulls himself back and does whatever invisible gesture he does to like basically be like, let them go. So
in my mind's eye, the special effects crew made sure that the way the light bent in the area, it looked like it. There's no void blade out right now, so we can't see it. But I think we get the feeling like
shadows,
tentacles. Yeah,
Yeah.
these shadowy tentacles, kind of like wrapping around Whisper as he's saying this. But then lets him go. Yeah, and Whisper, I think, keeps his cool as best he can for about 5 seconds until we get out, and is like, let's get the hell out of here. And
I imagine that door from the bridge shuts behind us, and just literally everybody just,
yeah. Cool. I was gonna ask him how to get off this planet, but we're not sticking around for that. So
yeah. I'm sure there's some piloting and a path and what nonsense, but that's all hand wavium, right?
nice.
The question that I had was okay, so at the end of the job, what is your getaway role? And your getaway role was kind of social, right? And rig based / attune based.
Yeah.
So no, that's fine. Cool. That is ultimately the conversation of Blades. I'm like, this is your obstacle. How do you overcome it? And you folks were told me a cool story, and I was like, all right, yeah, that's true. Now let's go.
Day it.
So sweet. I think we're in downtime. Shall we go through the whole shenaniganery?
Yeah, let's do all the.
Look at me being not prepared. I have my sheets open. One sec.
It's cool. Heat is the first thing.
Yeah. How do you feel, folks? How do you folks feel about the heat this time?
I mean, I don't think it could have been smaller. We didn't.
Didn't
Well,
kill
that's not
anyone?
true. It depends on how much anyone noticed us going to Planet Omega. But that's the only thing I think that's relevant. On the planet, there's no hegemonic presence at all.
Yep.
And when we were there, we effectively didn't disrupt it in any way that would be noticeable by anyone. We went to a temple that's no one's seen in 1,000 years.
1,000.
At least 1,000,
Yeah.
right? The current hegemony does not have any knowledge of the existence of this temple. So
they probably scanned the entrance from space, but yeah, it's
right.
No, I'm with you on that.
So are we 0 heat, 1 heat?
I'm desperately looking for the heat piles, but I think that sounds good.
It's 0 is completely quiet, others are blamed. 1 is smooth and quiet, low exposure. To me, it feels like, given that the agony are aware of us doing this, it's maybe 1. But what do y'all think?
I think that sounds about right to me.
Yeah. Feels about
All
right.
right, cool. Yeah, and I don't think you had high profile targets. I don't think you blew up a gate.
What system are we in right now?
Holt.
We're in Holt. Okay, so that's going to be 1 heat and Holt.
Cool.
Right.
I believe your payout is 0 though.
Yep.
And my question is, do you upkeep your ship?
Yes, we do.
Oh, okay.
Jen's
Then we don't have to roll for whether the ship blows up, which is good.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't blow up, but something can go wrong, which is always delightful.
Our upkeep costs, I think, are still just 1 cred, because I think if
you haven't upgraded systems.
Well, we added crew quarters, which
that's a module. You need to actually modify either crew quality or actual core systems before it goes up.
Yeah. So that's 1. I'll just take it off the ship's cred.
Cool.
That's upkeep.
Oh, hey, I have to roll entanglements, and now I don't have my dice here. I mean, downtimes. Where do you folks want to do some downtimes in the Holt system?
Yeah.
Oh
so
Josh,
our heat and Holt is 1.
Yeah.
And we don't have a 1 at level. When you're
That's correct. Sorry, I'm rolling d6s on my phone rapidly. Oh, wow. Well, all right. What's that?
Sean, can you drag us all over to the system screen so that I can see what else is in the Holt system?
Sure. Good call. Boop.
Yeah, cool. Mem, Sanandra, Vos. Yeah, sure.
They're all delightful, totally perfectly normal planets.
Yeah. I mean,
do you want to ask me some questions about these planets?
Well, I was going to ask, where are we when we engage in our downtime?
Omega is actually, I think, is it past the gate? So I mean, you have to fly for like days before you're back in civilization.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not on the map, right?
Yeah.
It's not on this sector map.
So yeah, it's one of those weird, barely lit, kind of black beetle looking like planets. So
I mean, I guess if we find like, you know, one of the truck stops or whatever.
I mean, you can swing towards the planet, right? So the two most likely culprits here. I think you have a job on Vos, maybe. I don't know. You can take a look. But the Sanhandra is like a smuggler's haven. It's a tidally locked planet, which means that it doesn't rotate. It just faces the sun. So one half of it is on fire and baked, and one half of it is permanently in darkness. And so like there's a habitable strip in the middle. But it is, I think I actually use the line, it's a hive of scum and villainy, right? Like
Nice.
it's the kind of place that you know, folks that are maybe not the most kosher would land on, because the hegemony can't make use of most of the planets, so there isn't actually a very strong hegemonic presence, and there's a lot of shady stuff that maybe you walk 10 feet into the dark zone and then you do things that you maybe shouldn't because sensors and electronics just stop working once you go to the dark side for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Who could have ever imagined?
yeah, I mean that could be a cool planet to go and like
Yeah,
get up some
that
relaxation.
seems like a better like last point of origin than where were you last, like Omega, right? Because people are going to want to check your flight charters, and it seems like
We've been here
Sanhandra
for a week.
would be easier to like just land at and then say like, yep, that's where we were, rather than having to land somewhere else and like, where were you last? And we're like, so that seems smart to me.
So Scion, like, he's heard like through a friend of like some dive bar that serves like the greasiest, best diner food, and he's like, yes, I'm gonna go like order 5 plates of eggs.
Oh my god.
Need
I
the protein
totally
alert.
know whose place you're crashing at.
Sweet.
So so usually when you have like spaceports, they're like they've got like landing bays and all sorts of other stuff. These folks just kind of clear fields and just like make a section. They're like, I don't know, your ship lands here. But there's a grizzled OSHA. She's a nicked smoking grizzled ex-legionnaire.
Amazing.
So Sean, you probably have a contact.
I was
just
gonna
saying.
say, I want to use old friends. Give it to me.
runs the Three Sons, a gambling den, and the biggest local dive.
Excellent.
Yeah. Her name's Osha.
Mm-hmm.
And she runs the Three Sons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Steven, you were saying that Scion would have known her. Possible that we both. She's ex-Legion, right? So I mean, it makes sense that both of us would have had interaction with her.
Absolutely.
So I think maybe you're like, I know somebody, and her name's Osha, and I'm like runs the Three Sons, right? Like it's clear that like we know the same person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's not that I know her, but it's that I know of her. And then
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I know her. And I'm like, wait, you know of her? And you're like, no. Come with me.
Nice.
So
Awesome.
just to set the scene a little bit, there's because like one half of the planet is really hot and one half of the planet is really cold. There's a lot of like wind current, like the temperature differential causes these like dust and windstorms. So most of the people on this planet, when they're inside, everything's fine. But when they're outside, usually there's like frequent dust storms that like claw through. So like everyone's wearing these like masks or helmets, like breathers, right? Like with some hoods and cloaks up just to like shield their equipment from like the constant like dust that flows through. So yeah, it's not exactly the most gorgeous planet, but that's part of the charm. That's why everybody comes here, right? Like it's kind of not terribly happy to have humans, which is why the hegemony leaves it alone and everybody else has a lot of fun. So yeah. That sound like a good place to have some downtimes?
Absolutely.
Sounds
Let's do it.
Yeah.
So for me, all I need here is to indulge my vice, which is what exactly is my vice?
I think isn't it pleasure.
And it's like,
how is it that
specifically,
you're
like,
not sure what your vice is? Steven? We all know your vice.
well, traditionally it's been like drink, but it's also like food and like fun, and yeah, he's just kind of a hedonist. So yeah, I'm just looking to go like order 5 plates of the greasiest, dive bar food, and just like chow down while someone plays a honky tonk in the corner.
Do they have some like fire lizards from the bright side that people sometimes hunt?
Yeah.
Can Dipper go with you to have some fun?
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like it's the kind of scene that really we wouldn't seem complete if we didn't have Ula along with us.
Heck yeah.
Oh, what's Ula's vice? This I gotta know.
I mean, my vice is playing with Urtek.
Which I would love to do also during this downtime.
Yes,
if
I
you're-
would also-
I feel like that is Dipper right now. Like
Yes,
you
I
have
mean,
your-
also,
correct.
like, there's got to be all sorts of trade that happens in the back rooms of this place, right?
Yes. As a matter of fact, so one of the things that maybe you're not aware of is that when you are on planets have special rules, and one of the rules for Sanhandra is that you can find almost anything here. So acquire as assets rolls get an extra dime, but if you roll 1, 2, 3, it usually comes with trouble. Which is pretty much the summary of this planet, right? Like shady deals and problems with strings, and
Nice.
you definitely get the vibe that there's a lot of like things of questionable legality going on, right? Like there's definitely people that are just like, oh, is there any action going on? And people are like talking about odds. There's some people that go like 10 feet into the dark side, and like I keep saying 10 feet, but like approximately like 10 minutes towards the dark side, for whatever reason, all light sources extinguish.
Nice.
They just turn off. And so like, do you have lights on your ship? No, you don't anymore. So like, but yeah, that also consequently means that like people will do things of shady legality because they cannot be seen even from orbit. And so yeah, there's this leaf called Nict that people grow. It's like tobacco. It's like a local drug that's not like super illegal. Just it's not on the books exactly. It's not like the guild has approved it. So, but yeah, questionable legality everywhere. So yeah, so are you folks just like going through and bouncing around dive bars and eating greasy food? And by that, what I mean is mostly Scion eating greasy food and
other people being like, "How can you eat that?"
I mean,
Oh,
Ula's
yeah.
not surprised at all, but she's along for the ride.
I do envision San in one of those moments where you like see him like shooting something back, and then we see the other person across from him just being like, that he was in a drinking contest or something like that, and the other person's like, a kid falls over and people cheer. Like this feels like the or maybe it's the how many eggs can you eat contest, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's some like horrible smelling, weird colored xeno lizard eggs there, like from
Scion slams back the shot, slams it down on the table, slams his hands down on the table, stands up and says, "House Yesh, nerd!" And then just immediately gets in a fist fight with someone.
Sounds about right.
Ula just drinks cheap whiskey and lets him.
I imagine Dipper probably has questions they put to Ula about what Scion's doing, and like sort of
Yes, Ula will absolutely give commentary as to what's going on here.
yeah, like the caloric intake of this food is like negligible. Why is it being consumed? It's like, don't worry about it. Like it's a human thing.
Yeah.
The caloric intake is astronomical. The nutritional value is entirely different.
All right, so you want to throw some dice for
Indulging my vice.
indulging your vice?
Yes. Cool. I'm rolling at least 2 dice. Thank goodness. Nice. I'm gonna bump that up to 7.
Yeah, because you can do that.
And that's
you're a
gonna take me
hedonist.
down to 1 stress. Cool.
Cool. What are the rest of you doing?
I would love to. Oops, sorry.
I was about to ask if Dipper was rolling. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I think I'll just roll my bias. I feel like my bias is being attended to with either Ula or Scion, so I can go ahead and roll that. But yeah, I would love to. I was thinking get Ula in my brain to look at some of my memories,
Yes,
so we
please.
can maybe start like. I was thinking of like arrivaling it a bit, where it's like maybe we can figure out this Urbot language. Like maybe we could start with like the alphabet and then sort of build up words and stuff and that kind of thing.
A suggestion is that you can sort of combine actions. So you could say like, I want to take 2 downtime actions here. One is indulge vice, the other is long-term project. Learn Urbot or something like
Heck
that.
yeah, you read my mind. Yeah, let's. So I'm keen for that. If you're keen for it, Ula.
I love it. It's perfect.
Yay.
Yeah, I don't think it's Urbot so much as it's Elderbot.
Precursor.
No, they are
No.
not speaking precursor, but yeah,
Prebot.
prebot. Elder.
Oh.
Yes.
Elder. Yeah.
Brilliant.
There you go.
I heard the blip of. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
I also
6. Nice.
overindulge, so
Oh wait. No. You're with Scion, and Scion's hedonist ability works with anybody indulging vices with him. So you can up or lower that by plus or minus 2. So you can the hedonist saves you if you want it.
Yep.
that's fantastic.
Yeah,
It's up to you though.
I was gonna say, unless you want Ula to have messed with you a little too much.
I'm also down for
Up to
that.
you.
I'm cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, look at the overindulge things. Like, do you want to
it's
get
like you
heat from
can-
us? Do you want to have another entanglement? Do those
Yeah,
things sound
I'll-
fun?
Do you have an entanglement in mind, Strash, for this kind of thing?
No, but if you gain extra heat, it could easily be that one of your ghosts, like at some point somebody does something innocuous that I don't even understand, like because nobody sees these ghosts, right? Like you're seeing weird Urbots every once in a while, but like it could easily be that you feel insulted by someone and somebody gets hurt, and so like you folks get +2 heat or whatever. Because I think that's
the
one
whole
of
bar fight that you were just talking about.
Scion's already gotten in a bar fight, so
yeah, but Scion's in what we term a friendly bar fight. So like you might be fighting people,
Yes.
but they're not like drawing vibroblades and trying to stab you through the heart, right? Like it's one of those like we punch each other and then while we're like all swollen, we're like drinking together and like but like I think Dipper actually probably like hurt someone and it takes like a second to like calm everything down. It's calm, but it raises your heat, right? Because like now everybody's like cognizant of that kind of thing.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have an entanglement in mind. I would just roll it because that's what I do. I made a turn for a reason.
If heat's interesting to people in that sense, I'm totally fine taking some heat. Or we could have it that would have happened, but Scion pulled Dipper back from like actually punching someone because Dipper's quite reckless these days.
Yeah, that's a good question, Lauren. I think you should weigh that thing. Do you want the XP from Reckless, or do you want the not having heat from? I mean, not that you should base this solely on mechanical benefits, but you do have them on either side, right? You can.
Lauren, I will say that heat is a speaker's problem, not yours. So
Exactly.
It's very
So,
true.
It depends. Do you want Whisper to be frustrated with you?
That's always fun.
Cool.
Space Dad.
Look,
Yeah.
then we get extra XP for the ship because we're expressing the inner conflict of the crew. Really, I think
I'm sold.
there's a no-lose situation here.
Yeah, I like that idea. I'll lean into the reckless thing, get some XP, maybe have some fun consequences.
can I suggest a thing?
Heck yeah.
I think there's probably a moment when you grab someone's face where like for the first time ever, like Dipper's eyes turn red for a half second.
Yes, yeah, that's really cool.
And that guy doesn't have a good day.
No.
Violence over in the corner going, yeah, Dipper.
All right, so I'll just NVD. I'll just mark another 2 heat and hold. So I was gonna say, we don't have to worry about heat and hold. It's because we only have 1. We can just ignore it.
About that.
Yeah. All right.
Cool.
Okay. We have
So
I
you
would
wanna-
like to also indulge my vice.
Go for it. What does that look like? Like are you folks on the ship and you're like running cables into Dipper? Is that what that looks like? Like,
With
what's the?
Cusco.
Yeah, I kind of think my intention was to kind of like investigate that second core, but I think if Ula saw the red in Dipper's eyes, yeah, that I could totally see this turning into more of like this obsession with trying to figure out what caused that, because I've never seen my friend do that before. And
Do we want to have a little scene where you talk about it?
I want to figure it out.
Yeah.
Laura? Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to. I think like Dipper like would give you full consent to do what you would like to do with their brain. So whether that's like if you would like you could totally step into that memory and see like the big scary spider robot.
I would love that. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I think I just have like a bunch of cords running out of you, right? And wires and monitors and and it all looks not very sophisticated because this is Ula we're talking about.
Right.
So there's a couple of things that happen here. I'm gonna say a weird thing, and I'm sure that we'll figure out a way to overcome it. But Dipper's like, yeah, there's an Urbot that's been following me around. You haven't seen one on the ship. And then you're like, oh, well, maybe Dipper's seeing things. And you scan Dipper's memory, and the core that you can actually download data from is like, yeah, there's nothing there. Dipper's looking at a wall. There's no weirdness. But like, for example, when the bar fight happens, you're reading inputs and you're like, Dipper, you have extra limbs. So like Dipper is like, for a while you're like, is my Urbot having hallucinations? Is something wrong with them? And then you're like, no, Dipper's not lying. There is some feedback. It's just, it's very, very tricky, and it doesn't want you to know. As a matter of fact, like when you run cables, like the woman in the robe, the Urbot in the robe is just like 83. Why are you letting this organic do this? What is wrong with you? Have you not even been educated on the basics?
I think Dip is not spoken to. I think Dip is just trying to block it out. It's like, this isn't happening. Like, yeah. But I think like that pisses Dipper off a bit, and I think maybe there is like a tiny flicker of red in Dipper's eyes as they say like, but she's my friend. Like I care about her. I think like Ula can totally hear that.
I was gonna ask, can Ula hear this? Oh, so you're seeing them now. Huh? And I like go back to
Dipper is talking to thin air, right? And I think this woman like gives an annoyed and just says like, friend, this fruit fly is barely worth your notice. We do not make friends with insects. Scandalous. So
I think I like poke at that second core.
I love her. She's my new girlfriend.
We're learning a lot about Whisper today.
Your marriage and why it fell apart suddenly makes so much more sense.
Totally in context now. Dipper, if you could set us up on a date, that would be great. Or just an introduction. I don't want to rush things.
I think Dipper says like this, like she has saved me countless times. And I think like I think Dipper like just defends like while Ula's working on Dipper and maybe trying to like real time catch what's going on. Dipper's is like arguing with this robot lady.
This Urbot bends like at her like waist a little too much, right? And like leans over to where Ula is working and says, these fruit flies, they have and like it points like a ½ inch from her stomach and says they have parasites in their intestinal tracts as well. Like they could not digest food without them. That doesn't mean that they give them any more notice than they're worth.
I think, and I'm dying to know like what Ula can read from this on through the wires.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think what Ula is doing now is like, I know that Dipper is interacting with this, as far as I'm concerned, hallucination, and so like I'm trying to like read voltage on wires or read activity or look into feedback or find any mechanical like evidence of this being something other than a hallucination.
It's definitely not a hallucination.
Yeah.
But like you can't see it, right? Like Dipper's optical sensors aren't actually registering as far as you can tell, because you're like, "I'll disconnect your left eye," and then you're like, "Seems to be working just fine," but it's not seeing anything here that you seem to be saying you're seeing. But like, obviously, like one of the things that you notice is like that the two cores have interconnected. And you remember that I mentioned that like it downloaded an absurd amount of data, like galaxies worth of information. And so like, yeah, it just, there's clearly some weird interconnection. Like something is overwriting like perceptors and comprehensions in the middle of like the core, like whatever the equivalent of, there is a ghost between the eyeball and Dipper's soul, right? Like it's that's what
is it in the machine?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the fact of the matter is their cores are interlinked. So Dipper's perception at the end of the day, yeah, like I could see you tapping directly into that new core to be like, what are you doing?
I mean, yeah, that's gonna be my next try.
What melts your equipment?
Yeah, that's what I was afraid of.
You get cold, you get close, and then it turns like red, and then it turns yellow, then it turns white, and then you don't have leads to run into it anymore.
Yep.
That's
nice. That's still indulging your vice, though. You're still.
Oh no, absolutely, and it's totally worth rolling on some project if you want. I'm just what I'm saying is that I'm assuming that it's bigger than a 4 o'clock, and no matter what you roll, you're not just going to finish the project in one go, because providing obstacles and puzzles is part of the fun, right? Like, so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not trying to solve this thing, like solve this, this thing that I can't perceive that Dipper can, like right now. But yeah, I will roll those vice dice.
And is there a project you would like to work toward in particular for understanding what's going on?
That's a great question. Because yeah, I mean, I am super into the idea of trying to help Dipper learn elder. But I don't think that it's something that Ula can learn. So yeah, I think I'm trying to figure out how do I distill what I want out of this second core into an actual project, because it's not just like, oh, I just like to figure out all the data that it downloaded, that it's like an incomprehensibly large amount of data that I could never wade through even in my whole lifetime.
Could one clock be like sort of sifting through some of that, or like sort of the first step be like finding that gem that will let us know what the rest of the project is?
Yeah, I like that.
Take it a step at a time.
Let me break this down. So let's just make it like a 6 clock so that it's not too big. We'll do a bunch of smaller clocks in sequence. And I feel like what this project maybe is like interface with the second core, because right now it's just melting your
that's a good idea.
Melting your leads and everything. So like building something that can even connect to it is absolutely something Ula can do, but it's not like she doesn't have one, in the back room. She's not just like, oh yeah, I just have a elder or core connector. Boop,
It's plug and play.
Yeah. Oh, I meant to flip the USB. Yeah.
that way. Oh, that's not right either. That
one
way
more time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That
cool,
sounds. I love that. Yeah, interface with the core sounds like a super good step.
So I'm gonna roll my vice. Oh shit.
So there's no way to fail. Oh
no,
shit,
I know,
indeed.
but I had 7 stress and I only get to clear 2. So.
That's true. That's unfortunate.
You could spend a cred to do it again if you wanted to. Since you're, if you're, I don't know, starting missions with 5 stresses is.
Yeah, that's a bad idea. Yeah, I will do that. I will spend a cred to do that again. Great. Problem solved.
Wow, you cleared exactly the 7. That was close.
I know. Well, I figured if I rolled a 6, then I would just play some more and it'd be fine.
That's true.
Okay, so I have the ability Tinker when you work on a clock with Rig or Hack. you fill +1 segment. So if I'm doing a long-term project to interface with the second core,
you'll get an extra segment. That sounds good.
Awesome.
That's great.
Do I roll rig for that?
Yes, you tell me what skill you're using.
I'm using
and
rig.
I will like, if you're like, what I'm actually using is actually, I was about to throw out something like consort as a silly, but that actually works great. Or doctor, or like, but
Sure.
if you're like, I'm trying to skirmish with this, no, that probably works too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The clock might be bigger if you picked an action that didn't make a lot of sense.
Sure.
Rig makes sense.
Rig is fine.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll just say risky standard because
Sounds good.
I got a 6.
Nice.
Great. So that's usually 3 segments, and instead you get 4.
Yeah.
So you're most of the way there, which means you
Yeah.
can't fail next time. You will put something together.
Yeah. If you want to
Nice.
solve it this time, you could spend a cred to bump that up to a crit, which would be 5 segments, and for you a 6. But
Oh my god.
I mean, I'm not saying you should, but if you wanted to, 6
No, I like the idea of this being a thread that Ula can't untangle in one go.
That makes sense.
We could engage the special rule for the planet and see if you get in trouble for buying illegal components by spending that cred, but you know, it's cool. I guess what I'm trying to say is I appreciate it and respect your decision, and that's totally fine. If we wanted to come up with a cool story, I think that it's plausible, it's possible, you know, like it's just, I like that too. So cool. Any other downtimes people want to do?
Yeah, I also want to indulge my
Oh yeah, you should tell me about your vice, because now I think I get to play some cards.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk with my friend Osha and ask her if I can use her, private Nexus link. I need something that's
sounds good.
secure, right? So
cool channel.
I think we see like in the background like the beginning of Sign and Dipper and Ula's like pub crawl, is like at their first place, and I'm going into the back and walking through the kitchen and walking past the secured room where the money counting is happening and there's guards and all that stuff, and then into the office with the Nexus link, and and I pop up and I'm just like, it's kind of uncommon because usually it's like just checking with Starbeam, but like I've got a roster of like I'm going to be contacting a couple people, but we'll start with my daughter, and
she looks tired.
Yeah. Okay, that's normal.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. Okay.
She looks like she hasn't slept in a week.
I say, what? I say, Starbeam, what's going on? I know I've been out of touch for a while.
She says, okay. I think we see like just a smidge of whisper in her, where she's like, "Well, you were off gallivanting around the universe."
Yeah.
And you can tell that that's not her genuine heart. It's like the crankiness from not sleeping enough.
Not sleeping, yeah.
Yeah.
From
So
being in charge of a lot of things and having lots of pressures on you.
She says, Legion hit us pretty hard and we don't have resupply anymore. So half of my ships are either still on fire internally or I don't have the supplies to repair them. Things are not great out here.
Ooh. How did the
which
Legion
is
find you?
secretly my way of pointing out that her faction went down an entire
tier. I know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna dig into it more though. How did the Legion find you? Is it an encounter that you planned, or? No,
they've got. Actually, what she'll say is like they've been stepping up their. There's apparently something going on in Iota. There's some nonsense that's going on with the. So to explain to you, there's a planet in the Iota system where there's a lot of industry that happens. They have a lot of like orbital storage and things like that, and apparently there's been a criminal syndicate that's been making advances and taking over more than what's their turf, which is my way of announcing, hey, the Ashen knives are going up in status. So their faction has gone up in tier, and they're starting to cause trouble outside of just the Rin system. And so the Legion moved because there were like ships in orbit and other stuff, happening. And she's like, we just got unlucky. They had a jump that came out of a place that we didn't expect, and we engaged. Usually we have, enough parts that once we disengage, everything gets on target. But once they saw that we were bleeding, their commander seemed to take us pretty personally. It's almost like he's made it his mission in life to hunt us down. So he's repeatedly been beating on us. Like some really old idiot decided to taunt him, So yeah, you wouldn't happen to know anything about that, would you, Whisper?
I may have had an altercation in the IOTA system.
You don't say.
Sorry, I didn't think that would come back on you personally. I thought Talon's venom was aimed at me more directly than that. What a coward!
I think almost in an exact same motion, she takes off her glasses and pinches her nose. She says, "Like I'm just tired."
All right. Well, I just got free. My crew is open right now. I've never asked them to do a job directly for us because I've tried to not cause additional heat. But if you're hurting, I think they'll follow my lead. We just got off a planet that nearly ate all of us and ingested us and spit us out the other side. I think if I tell them I really need it, they'll come and they'll come. I've got the best mechanic in the Procyon sector on my ship. I know one mechanic doesn't make all the difference, but she can help. And your mom, well, she wouldn't like it, but I bet she would lend aid too.
So I want to say, as your GM, that I'm challenging you to rise to this occasion. But
Yeah.
I think what she says is, you got a tiny ship, and these are the battles of giants. I don't know how much difference you can make. It's nice that you want to try and fix the problem, Dad, but I don't know that you have the oomph.
Okay, well, fair. Maybe I don't. But your dad's been around this sector a few times, and I have the advantage of lying low, and I've been able to make quite a few friends. So maybe I don't have the oomph, but I've got the ear of a couple people who might. I know weapons dealers that could equip you with equipment. I know weapons dealers who just made a real good deal after the Janus Syndicate started hurting. So we're in their favor, and they owe us one. And I also know some pirates that are in the business of securing the Procyon sector from the Legion as well. I think I might have more cards to play than I did when I left.
Oh, look at you being all speaker.
As you say this, do you have a flash in your mind of like a hooded cloak with like 7 floating eyes in the darkness and shadowy tentacles in the background?
Thank you for that horrible, horrible image.
And now I will never sleep again.
Yes.
There are other friends we could.
Yeah, no, I'm not calling on the agony. Yes, you're right. There's definitely a point where I kind of like Whisper does this thing where he sort of just like looks off into the distance, like off into space, even though he's in a room. And maybe it's in the direction of Planet Omega or the direction he thinks it is. And yeah, that is not something he puts on the table. But I mean, I know about the Nightbreaker. I know about Alana's plan, and she wants to control the Procyon sector. Like, I don't think that's entirely misaligned with the Lost Legion wanting to have safe haven here and to fight the 51st. So I think that there's potential allyship there.
Should probably talk to your crew first, though.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Who do you normally go to right now? Who's your supplier?
Well, traditionally we would get parts from the Raiders, but somebody shot a bunch of them up, and then part of the reason why they had a lot of parts is because they would be working with this Janus Syndicate, but somebody shot their leader up, and
hold on.
I had a really bad day.
The Drexler's Raiders?
Oh, come on, Dad. It's not like your hands are perfectly clean.
No. Look back at Planet Omega. No, they're definitely not. But those people are monsters. They cut open holes and airlock people. I mean, there's
Where do you think ship parts come from? We go to the Starsmith shipyards? Come on. What is the first rule of guerrilla warfare? You taught me this.
There are better friends to have.
Don't make me start listing your friends, Dad.
Fair. Okay. I'm not gonna critique your choice of allyship, but clearly you need someone else to help.
You say guidance, and I swear to God, I'm gonna shoot your ship down.
No, you don't need guidance. I'm saying you need parts.
Yes, I need parts.
Let me see. I've got two people in mind. Both of them have pretty significant access have pretty significant holdings in Rin, and one has strong holdings in Iota as well. You're right. We've both made shady friends that we probably wouldn't if we had the choice, but I don't know. My shady friends have parts right now, so, or they might. I'll get back to you.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah. And I think we're just going to have him make a series of calls that I'm going to flash back to as needed to be able to set up this next job that I'm going to propose.
Sounds great.
So yeah, I'm going to roll my indulge dice. Oh, damn it. Oh, no, perfect. Excellent.
That's a 6.
That's excellent. I thought I only had 5, but I have 6. So.
Oh, you thought you overindulged?
Yeah, I thought I.
Oh yeah, session of overindulging.
I guess I was at 7 before. I thought it was. Yeah, cool. Clear one from the. All right, that's my first one. I've got other ideas. Why don't we rotate? Other folks have.
Who's got downtimes left?
Yeah, I think everyone's got one left.
I think Jen Vice worked on a long-term project. Lauren,
Yeah, I have nothing.
you Vice.
I think I technically have one
I've got one left.
action left. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have an idea, Sion, for what you want to do?
So like, I'm of two minds, right? Like, I want to work on my friendship clock with Dipper.
Oh, so cute.
But I also want to give Strash the opportunity to engage those planet mechanics.
Hey, I'm gonna be reducing heat in Iota because we're here and we need to. So yeah, by all means, go acquire assets.
So like specifically the thing that I thought I would try to acquire is like Sion is like has this growing realization that he's traveling with an Urbot who can also attune to the way, and that is not common.
Yes,
and I wanted to like try to like acquire like maybe I've heard of like an ancient way text that talked about this at one point in the past or something like that, and maybe this is the kind of place that you could like put out feelers in order to lay hands on a copy or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds great. Why don't you? So your crew quality is 0 because you folks have not raised your crew quality at all. But you get a die, which is great because you're on this planet. So you get 1D currently, and since you're not engaging a friend per se, I don't think you get extra D here. So would you like to roll a die and see what quality of asset you acquire? You're looking for ancient texts here.
Now, could I spend a cred and like get 2D or like upgrade the...
So the way it works is when you roll, you get a certain quality and then you can buy that quality up with cred.
Yeah.
Here's a downside, just BT dubs. If you roll a 1, 2, 3, even if you upgrade the quality, it still counts as a 1, 2, 3 for the purpose of trouble.
Right.
So that's actually the rule in the book. It says like even if you upgrade it with cred. So yeah.
I'm okay with that. Here's my 1 die.
Yeah, let's see it.
I like this hashtag, but like other bots, by the way.
Hey,
this is totally not trouble. I'm totally not trouble. But would you like to buy it up? Because right now you have poor quality scrolls.
I was gonna pay 2 cred in order to just bump.
Beautiful. Then you have fine quality scrolls, which means that they're like effectively like tier 2 scrolls about ancient or Urbot things.
Yeah, I'd buy it up. I'd
Nice.
Sweet.
spread a little money around.
So like I think it looks like, you know, Avatar waterbending scrolls or something, like, you know, it's got like Urbots, and it's got like different forms, and it talks about like some like weird connections and whatnot. But there is a aha, yes, I love these names. They're so 1940s Buck Rogers. So there's a outlaw gunslinger named Del Hex, who apparently so what I'm going to say is that your trouble is actually going to be only slightly delayed, which is that, you know, it's one of these things where you go in and money changes hands, you open the scrolls, you're like, yeah, sweet.
Yeah.
But there's like, as you're walking out, there's like somebody who's like watching you with their like hood up and their little mask on, right?
Yeah.
And then like as you walk
Smoking
away,
a
they're
pipe
like,
and the pipe lights up his eyes, and
they reach for their like earbud, and they're like, yeah, he's here, or like whatever. So clearly somebody is tracking you now, and they know where you are and who you are. Maybe a little bit too much punching and yelling house yesh. So like, you know,
I am what I am.
You yam found out. So yes, so yeah, that's the trouble. I'm going to say that the trouble is coming. It's just not instantaneous. Is that cool?
I'm into this.
Cool. So I actually have a question. I know that Sean has 2 downtime actions remaining, and our Urbot has at least 1. But did we want to take a break because it's that time?
Yeah, that sounds
I
good.
think that's wise.
I'm down. Unless Lauren, you had something you want to do like quick that didn't need a lot of narration, I could make mine quick too if we wanted. But you know, to do them real fast.
I
But
can make it quick. We could take a break. I'm good either way. Does the break? Yeah, need to happen now. We could go for a break. But I don't know.
well, I'm thinking lay low, which doesn't have to have a lot of narration around it, and which is my free one, and probably train, which doesn't have to as well be it also doesn't have to have a ton of training go. Horrocks is still with us, right, Josh?
Yes, for a little bit. She's probably going to take her leave here.
Sounds good. I wanted to train with her. I wanted to ask her a question on it. So yeah, let's do it real fast if that's okay. As long as you've got something. So I'm just gonna basically be like you know, part of me on the Nexus link is communicating with people about what happened in the IOTA, and basically checking in with folks and trying to get them, especially the Ashen Knives, to you know, erase records of our being there, or not to mention it. I'd like to consort to lay low in IOTA.
Sounds good.
So we'll do that. Consort.
Is that how lay low works? Do you roll skill?
I think so.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'll double check. Lay low. If you want to reduce your heat, yeah, maybe you consort with a friend, maybe you command. Yeah, you roll your action.
There you go. Hit it.
And do I have a friend? I have so many friends. Yeah,
I'm
going to.
You have an Ashen Knives friend at the very least.
We have 2 Ashen Knives friends. I have the assassin, and we also have Arlox. So I'm going to be talking to Arlox because I think talking to Arlox is also going to feed into our next job as well. So consort with Arlox. All right, that's 2 heat.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to ask Horrocks. I'm going to say, you know, I think I have all these drawings that I've done about how my understanding of the way works, and it's still like gravimetric and you know, forces metaphysics, you know, forces of the universe that we understand, but maybe we don't understand perfectly. And then I finally sort of break down with her, and I'm like, you know, I just always get this like weird feeling. Like sometimes I think I just know when someone's lying to me, and I don't know if it's their tell or if it's something else. And I'm training to eventually have the move player, which is, you know, when someone's lying to you. And I think the way I'm going to define knowing that is just like getting this weird like way tug. When you can use the way to sense killing intent, but I think as a speaker, maybe I can use the way to sense other things too. And if that's cool with you.
Yeah, I don't mind. That's a cool explanation too.
Awesome.
Although she gives you like some weird looks, like you're jabbering at her, and partway through she just like says something like almost cutting you off, and she says like, "You've done something foolhardy. You've thrown the balance off. I wasn't sure that I was supposed to leave Omega."
I did not want to leave you with those people.
Oh no, it's much appreciated, but unfortunately, I think the confrontation has at best been delayed. And she like looks to her side, and you realize that she may have done something on planet that you don't understand.
Yeah.
But then like she says like, okay, if you want to train the balance, let's see how it goes. So do you want to throw some attune dice for me just to see like what scale of trouble like she's gonna get you in to try and train you?
Sure. Yeah, it's
just like a fortune roll.
Fine. I'm gonna roll it as a fortune roll because I want to see it. Oh yeah, there we go.
Wonderful. Yeah, so she's like, okay, you want to train? No problem. I will train you the same way that I've trained Scion. And then you realize that the first thing she does is she like takes you to the dark side and pays your entry fee and takes you into some like club that has like card games and gambling and this like giant pit in the middle. And she's like, all right, great, we're gonna play a card game, and then like you're gonna train. And then you tell her, you're like, sometimes I sense that people like I sense things. And she's like, you're overthinking this. Like the way isn't about like your feelings. The way is about instinct, right? Like it's understanding the balance of the universe and feeling the shift. And I don't mean it in the sense that you feel angry or you feel happy. You have to do it like quickly and on instinct. If you overthink it, you'll lie to yourself. You'll explain things away. You'll pretend that you feel something instead of actually reacting to what's happening. So she's like, there's only one way to fix this. And then you hear her cackling with like her feet dangling off the side of a table while she's sipping some sort of cocktail. And you're in like a vibroblade dueling arena, like fighting some dude that's like got 10 years and like another like 50 pounds of muscle on you. So nothing happens to you. Like no one dies. This is not,
Nice.
like to the death. It's just like, but I think it's like one of those like classic space scenes where you have your like hands tied together and like vibro knives or some nonsense. So yeah, she's like, think faster. Like,
Nice. Awesome. Well,
a feint is just a lie.
I think I'm just gonna train prowess then rather than playbook. But it all feeds in. It's all.
You can train playbook. It's fine. It'll be great.
All right. Cool. All right. That's me. And yeah, I think we see some new cuts and scrapes on Whisper at the end.
I have no idea if this makes you appreciate Scion any more or less.
A little more. Yeah, I think I can see where he might have bounced off of this style of training.
It's not as easy as I make it look.
Nice.
All right.
All right.
You good, Sean?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm done.
Dipper, did you know what you wanted to do for your last action
super
there?
quick training? I think I like the idea of training towards like a mystic playbook ability. Maybe meditation or warded or something. Meditation might be fun because it has dark visions attached to it, which is always exciting. But I think I think Dipper like goes into their quarters and kind of like dims the lights. I think and sort of regards their eel tank and tries to recall the lessons that Horax taught them about sort of like finding the way and finding sort of to try and find like some control over what's going on in them, because it was kind of scary when they were in a bar fight and all of a sudden like rage went through and I almost killed a guy. So I think trying to find some peace and balance from the way.
It's amazing. I kind of love it.
So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna train my playbook.
Nice.
Would you also like to roll a tune to see how it goes?
I would love to. Because yeah, I can totally picture being interrupted by ghost robots while I'm trying to meditate.
I mean, ghost
I
robots.
mean,
who
that's part
also
of the
know how to
training,
use
right?
the way.
Like tuning
Yeah.
them out or whatever. But like, let's see how which ghost robot shows up.
I love it.
If it's a 6, it'll be okay.
What bad is it? A 4.
Okay. So it's partially good, partially bad. Yeah, I feel like maybe on a 4, no new emotion surfaces, but like maybe if you see like the Urbot in the rope and she, she chides you about something and you're training to like find your calm despite the chiding, like that could be like a good training.
Oh, totally.
Nice.
But I think
Yeah.
I wanna just dark vision announce future badness. I think that you see a figure of an Urbot like standing in the shadows in the corner of the room, almost like they're waiting their turn or something like that.
That's very cool.
And I think the only thing you can see through the shadows is that they have like multiple faces on their head. So
I can't wait to
Wow.
meet them.
yeah.
All right.
No.
That's me.
Okay.
Great though. That's a cool thing about games. Even when it's bad, it's awesome. So
Mhm.
all right. Do we want to take a break
Yes.
and then
let's-
decide what our next job is?
Sounds
Yep.
good.
We'll see you all in a few.